Hi everyone, how you doing? This is Mike Protack again, talking about issues that affect our state and our great nation. Once in a great while, the state legislature comes up with a pretty good idea, or at least a member of the state legislature. Quite honestly, most of the things that come out of the state legislature don't amount to a whole lot. They're small bills, and we usually wait to the very end, of course, to wrestle with a budget. That this year was quite uncontrollable and unfortunate. But there was one proposal by Senator George Bunning that was a real gem. And we need to talk about that a little bit and how we can move with that bill towards more open government. We did a very small baby step this year with freedom of information, which is great, but we need to go a little further. Now, what Senator Bunning had proposed, which is quite unique and profound. The real simple fact, after you get elected to office in Delaware as a state legislator, senator or representative, you can't acquire a state job. Now, for some might think that's unfair. It's important to cut that umbilical cord from being a legislator to being part of the state government. Because part of the reason why we have this ongoing budget problem is the two become uncontrollably linked. You become part of a system that you have to perpetuate, and as a legislator you can perpetuate that with what? Taxpayer money. So I thought it was terribly important to hear somebody say that. Now, I'll be quite honest, the bill probably won't go very far very fast. But like a lot of things that take some time, we need to start somewhere. But let's talk about some other things for open government. I'm not sure if this is mostly a Democratic issue or Republican issue, but it is a citizen issue. And people do want to hear more about open government and transparency. The current governor campaigned on that. I stood on stages with him when he talked about it. I supported it. Let's see where the action is. The important thing to understand when we talk about the linkage between the legislature and state government, it's a moving target of sorts, but roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of our state legislature has either a job or a direct pension from the state. In other words, they benefit from that relationship. Now, I'm not saying no one can work for the state or to be completely sliced off there at the knees, but you have to understand when you become part of that and your vote can affect your own financial future, you can see where your vote's likely going to lie. How can we move ahead? Let's talk about something called an Inspector General. Something was talked about a little bit in the campaign last year, but didn't get much leg when the economy started to fall apart. But we need an Inspector General, somebody who can fight for taxpayers, fight for citizens. Because right now, if you and I have a disagreement with a state agency, you think the Attorney General's on your side, but in reality, the Attorney General is not going to represent you and me. He's going to represent state agencies. The Inspector General can have subpoena power, investigative powers, the kind of thing we can do beforehand, not after the fact. Other states have done it, and for those worried about growing government, you can take members out of the auditor's office and out of the Attorney General's office, combine those, and the office will pay for itself, and hopefully restore some confidence in our state government. Next thing I think other states have, and I think we could do well to have, is something called initiative, referendum, and recall. Delaware is one of the few states that literally citizens can go to the ballot box and vote for office holders, but that's pretty much it. Your rights as a citizen are being denied by people in Dover who really don't want to hear your voice on specific issues. And I think that would be very, very valuable, again, in restoring some confidence in our state government. Something I believe in very deeply is term limits. If you go into the state house, you look up the steps as they climb up, it has a list of people who served more than 20 years in the state legislature. In the first 200 years of our state, there's a few names, a handful at best. If you look at the last probably 40 years, the list is as sizable for the last few years as it is for the first 200. So instead of people coming there and being citizens, participating in the process and going back to their business, their personal affairs, they get there, folks, and they never leave. So we need to do something about that. I think term limits, I think 12 years is fine. If you can't get there and accomplish what you want to do in 12 years, maybe you shouldn't be there. And that would be for the state senate and for the state house. Just that simple. And I'll pick up where we started off with the state job process. There needs to be a very strict anti-nepotism policy. When I was running for governor last year, I ran into one of the lobbyists for for a drug company. And I was discussing this issue with him. And he said, Mike, what you don't understand is we view state reps and state senators as franchises. which left me bewildered. I said, well, how's that work? He said, well, think about the person holding the office as a franchise. Their friends and relatives and family members are franchisees. If we can keep them employed, we maintain influence. And that's a bad thing. They certainly should be able to lobby, they have First Amendment rights, but when you're using our taxpayer money to get somebody else a job because of a family relationship with a legislator, that's just dead wrong. So let's pursue more open government, inspector general, term limits, initiative, referendum, and recall. Delaware will be a much better place. In every meeting where taxpayer dollars are being spent or decided how to be spent or invested, we should have the right to be there. It's Mike Protack. Thanks for tuning in. Be more later on. Thanks.